Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Janino wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Jonny and Tom. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of the Boro match day chatter in a podcast. And a plague has taken over the pod this week. But Tom, we're here to talk about a plague that's affected us for over 30 years. So Boro's defeat to Leeds United and a win against Millwall has seen Boro go to 6th in the championship table. Whilst we're recording this, we could move. But for right now, we're 6th. So we're going to say we're 6th. Tom, it was an interesting week, obviously, but what was your one key takeout from the week?
Well, I mean, first key takeout is I'm loving the colour of hoodie that you've chosen this week, Jonny. I think it's the right sort of hoodie for this podcast. A key takeout football wise, I mean, I was happy that we beat Millwall yesterday, but my overriding thoughts when I came out the stadium were, I'm glad that we got the win despite not playing well. And I think that is a hallmark of a good team, where you can have a game like that where we've played much better this season. And I think a lot of the passages of play were just a little bit disjointed yesterday. And yet we still found a way to win. And you know, I think I was quite happy as well with the way we kind of adapted at the end of the game, where Millwall were maybe growing into it to just kind of change it up a little bit, take Fernandez off, put Dale Fry on for an extra centre back, see out the game, and to come away with a 1-0 win, hard fought from that, despite not being at our best. It does just go to show the ability of this team. In terms of Leeds on Tuesday night, I was kind of expecting that result, but I think for me, it was just the fact that it was mistakes that I've seen time and time again from this team against that type of team, where they are a very good, fit, energetic team who are going to pressure high up the pitch, and it's the same mistakes we've seen time after time. So it's given kind of food for thought for going forward. What do we need to improve to have this style of play be effective against everyone, and not just kind of the slower teams, I would say.
Yeah, and firstly, my key takeout. Also, Tom, fantastic hoodie choice today. Really nice colour on you. And then secondly, on top of that, I think my key takeout for the week is it has shown a different side to us, but on top of that, we did our best to throw away a couple of games this week. The game against Leeds, where I thought we were in a bit of decent control and probably our best part of the game, we managed to throw it away. And then secondly, yesterday against Millwall, where that first 10 minutes we could have been 3-0 down and deserved to be 3-0 down from the mistakes that we had, to be honest. So it was an interesting week. Definitely try to throw it away as much as we possibly could. But you've won one, you've lost one, and you've got to try and keep building up, because you've got some really big games coming up over this Christmas period. And if you win most of them, you're in a really good position come January, and you can maybe invest if we want to, but I don't think we will. And we'll see where we go from there. But we'll have a good foundation, hopefully, for the second half of the season. But let's talk about Leeds first, Tom, because we were cast away, I would say. We put ourselves in a good position second half. We threw it away by playing out from the back. And it was definitely a big talking point out of the game. And, Middlesbrough made some big mistakes and they were punished for it. But what's your take on Boro playing out from the back? Do you think it was still the right decision to do on Tuesday?
To be honest, I don't think it was. But I would say in the majority of the games, I am a fan of it. It didn't start that way. It was definitely, I definitely had a similar view to what a lot of people still have, where they just kind of get very nervous around us playing out from the back. And, you know, I think it's less and less now, but there were always the shouts at the start of this, when we started developing this style of play, of just hoofing up the pitch and stuff like that. It can be a bit nervy at times, but I think as a team, we are good at doing it. My issue with it is, and this goes back to what I was saying in my one key takeout, it's not suitable for every game. And for me, Leeds was a game where it wasn't suitable. We could see that coming because they were pressing us high up the pitch. They were very energetic, and they were preventing us from playing out from the back. We've seen this another couple of times as well. Most recently, Blackburn. Blackburn did it. I mentioned it in the post-Blackburn pod. They were getting touch tight on Howson and Barlaser because they knew that neither of them kind of really turned that well, in terms of playing out from the back. So getting touch tight on them, it forces turnovers in the midfield. We're even seeing that now to an extent. I mean, it was the case against Leeds. I think Hackney does it well. Barlaser doesn't. And he did get caught out a few times against Leeds, but my thinking on this goes back a bit longer. We watched it in the FA Cup against Brighton, lost 5-1 at home. Brighton were clearly, doing well at stopping us playing that style. We persisted with it and got beat. Away leg in the Carabao Cup last year against Chelsea. Clearly not the right idea to do against Chelsea, but it's our style of play, so we carry on doing it. And as much as I want a style of play that we're good at, and 95% of the time we don't need a plan B, we just need plan A to work, and it will. I just think there are some games where, against these tougher teams, where you do need to maybe reconsider that and maybe play a little bit differently. I mean, look at the Leicester game last season away. We played three at the back. And, we kept some of the same principles, but we came away with a win. Maybe that's the type of thing we need to do against these bigger teams. But for me, I think even if you're thinking longer term, and hypothetically, if Boro ever go up, and it's sometime soon, I think there's examples in the Premier League where teams have gone up with a style of play. They've tried to stick with that style of play, and now they're getting battered for it. Southampton being one of them. So that is a kind of worry for me long term, that we need to learn how to play against these kind of energetic, high pressing teams a little bit more effectively, because what we're doing now against the kind of slower teams, it's fine. Long term, if we want to be in the Premier League, we need more players who can do this quicker and who are going to do it more effectively against these bigger teams.
Yeah, and just on top of that as well, yesterday was an example where we actually did adapt, where Brynn was starting to kick it a bit long in the second half after that first 10, 15-minute flurry where we were getting caught with a really aggressive press. And, Millwall's action in that game was to really press high. And similarly, from what we've seen from Leeds, it was really press certain areas, try and force into mistakes, be really compact when a turnover could happen. Mills were going to be exposed because we will try and be expansive as we possibly can, because that's what you should try and do when you're in possession. You should try and stretch the game, pull a team out of position. That's what we were trying to do. But when you are pressing certain areas, really compact, put everyone on, and you're not passing through, you are liable to big mistakes. And we definitely were punished against Leeds. And I don't think it's something that we should abandon completely. We should definitely still play out from the back. We see a lot of positives that come from it. It's just knowing, like you were saying there, it's just knowing when to chop and change certain ways of playing just to manage the game. It's game management. It's really understanding that, we are getting pressed in these certain areas. How can we kick the ball long maybe, or can we maybe kick the ball to a certain area in the pitch where we can start to play out still? Zach Steffen was really, really good at this when he was at Middlesbrough, where he was able to pin the fullback, attack the fullback, and then we were able to get out straight away. And then we would play a bit further up the pitch. But for some reason, we just haven't really adapted that too much. We missed Matt Crooks to some extent, where you had the option to hit a big target up front and hold the ball up, and then you were able to play through that second and third phase, when I thought that was where you could be really effective. But against the Leeds, though, I just thought we were really poor in possession in those moments. They pressed well. They were deserving of the win because we were just stupid in certain areas and gave the game away, because that 20 minutes in the second half and the last 15 minutes of the first half, I thought we really grew into it, got our foothold in the game, equalised, and I thought there was only really one team that could actually do it, because we were on the ropes a little bit, Leeds, at that point. And I thought, if Ben Doak takes that chance, 2-1, they're chasing the game, you cut them up and you might win that game 3-1, 3-2. And you think, wow, what a fantastic win. You've scored 3 against Leeds twice and everyone's really happy. And, if you're going to go back to Burnley, we should have really won that game. To be honest, give it away from a mistake. But again, coming back to the in possession side of things, be rigid in terms of your principles, but be flexible on how you operate in a way where you can adapt the game. But in terms of the Leeds game, just the final point on it, do you think it was just Leeds being too good, Tom, rather than Boro being bad? Because I'm more so Boro were bad, and I thought that they pissed the game away, basically, over Leeds being really solid. But be good to get your thoughts on that.
I'm kind of in the middle. I think it was a bit of both.
I
I was reading something
cliche.
I was reading something on Facebook the other day, and there's a Boro fan saying we pissed it away, but then there was a Leeds fan coming in saying you need to give us some credit because we've worked hard to get those goals, and it's come from stuff we've done well. And I'm kind of I do see both points. I think I can't remember I think it might have been the second goal. Yeah, definitely the second goal. The same thing had happened 5 minutes earlier, and we got caught playing out, and Leeds won it high up the pitch, had a chance, didn't score it. Same thing happens 5 minutes later, the score. Against other teams, we might have got away with that. Against slower teams, like I say, where they're not going to be pressing us as much as Leeds were, might have got away with it. Against Leeds, we didn't. For the record, I think from the teams we played this season, Leeds have been by far the best. I don't think there's another team that we've played this season that has come close to that level of performance. And I thought it showed. For our part, pissing around with the ball and losing it that high, that close to our own goal, yeah, that's our fault. But then Leeds have done well to win it back in that area and create the chance. So for me, it is kind of in the middle. I did think that we played badly. It definitely was one of our, close to one of our worst performances of the season. I'm sure there has been worse, and I'm sure we've talked about it here. I just can't remember a specific one. But like I say, in terms of the teams we played this season, Leeds have been by far the best. So, they deserve some credit for those goals as well.
Yeah, definitely. They deserve credit. I think my final piece and more tactical side of things was I was really intrigued by Farke's tactical switch where they were trying to play on the wings. They were doubling up all the time and trying to pull Boro's wing backs back. You see him with that first goal where Borges doesn't know when to go or stay in his position, which is a big individual error, I would say, because it allowed them to get around us. And appreciate a couple of mistakes could happen. Dieng, what does he do right? What does he do wrong? Trying to kick it out, is it his fault or not? But I think the main problem was the ball in behind, which caused the ball to come in the box in the first place. So I think that's probably the bigger error over the two. And doubling up on the wings really pulls out of shape, and they deserve a lot of praise for that. And I agree with you, Tom. They're a Premier League team and weight, and I think that they're good enough. They've got this. They've got the depth in the squad. They've got real quality in and around the pitch. That probably should have went up last season, to be brutally honest. I thought they were a much better side than what Southampton were. But on the day, Southampton were the better side in the playoff final, and they're up. But I think Leeds would have done better than what Southampton are doing right now in the Premier League, to be honest. But we got beat, we move on, and we had to go into the game against Millwall where we made 5 changes, which I thought was really interesting. The big one being Sonny Dieng being on the bench and Sol Brynn coming in. We spoke a lot about it in the last podcast when obviously Tom you weren't on, but we said around Sonny Dieng, it's a big position, the goalkeeper position. Someone to change that is a level of confidence which you have to go, right, okay, well, this goalkeeper's even made a mistake over a period of time, and I've said that in the last show. But to see the change, it was a big one. But do you think it was the right one, Tom?
I think it's been proved to be the right one with Solbrenn's performance yesterday. It was a big decision. It was one I was shocked at the start of the game. But also, I do think this has maybe been coming for a little while. There were like mumbles about it at the start of the season. Should Dieng have saved that? And it's only kind of grown since then. I think to an extent, we may have even seen some mistakes from Dieng last season, but because we had such obvious kind of holes in the squad elsewhere, it was maybe masked by other issues. Don't get me wrong, I'm not piling on Dieng here. I think for majority of last season, he's done really well, and I think in terms of being that keeper who can be a shot stopper and play out from the back, I think we definitely did well replacing Zach Steffen. Now we've got Solbrynn coming in. He does seem quite confident, as you say, and he made a couple of big stops yesterday, which are only going to improve that and grow that confidence over time. And I was watching that yesterday, and my dad said to me after, I think it was the second one-on-one save, it was like, with that, I looked at that and think Dieng might have let that in at the moment, but Brynn really did well in terms of his technique to save it. It just seemed to be on that back foot both times. So yeah, I think it was the right decision. The club's obviously got a lot of faith in Solbrynn. He's obviously signed a new contract this season. He's been brought back instead of being out on loan. I think it's a big, big chance for him, and possibly, if he can carry this level of performance on, it could be a big season as well, and it might be his share to lose by the end of it.
Yeah, and just on Solbrynn as well, there's multiple things which, when you are in defence, it gives you confidence. The shot stopping was big in those key moments. The 2 1-on-1s, the good saves. I think there should be better placement, and I think that Millwall could have done better in those moments. But there's one thing I really liked about Solbrynn yesterday, and it was his ability to come out and collect the ball, catch his crosses, good handling, calm the game down, kick the ball along when we need to change. And it showed a real maturity in his performance, to be honest. And I just thought, when you're a defender and your goalkeeper's catching everything, he's good on his one-to-ones, that gives you confidence. And you go, okay, my keeper's on it today. And I've got to say, can you say the same about Sonny Dieng at the moment? Because when his goals prevention hasn't really been that good this season. He's actually second worst in the division. And, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that around the the prevention side of things. But Solbrynn, he did really well yesterday. That clean sheet is massive. The calming presence is the second thing. And I agree with you, Tom. It's his shirt to lose now, to be honest, because if you are able to come in and really stamp your authority and own that position, I think you're in a really good place to keep the shirt. But ideally, it could be tactical as well. People were targeting Solbrynn, that have been targeting Solbrynn. Millwall are a very direct team. Do you need someone who's a bit bigger in stature, who's going to be calm and collected? You might just put Brynn in there. But what a great position to be in, to have a tactical position of choosing between two first-choice goalkeepers. I think that's a fantastic place to be in. You want that in and around the whole squad, and hopefully we can do that in the next few weeks. But in terms of overall assessments, what were your overall thoughts on the game? Because, like I said just a little bit earlier on, we could have been 3-0 down after 10 minutes. We end up scoring a really good goal from Latte Laugh. And then nothing much to report on. What do you think? What was your assessment on it?
Yeah, I mean, I put in our group chat literally about 10 seconds after kickoff. Oh, good start, because we've, conceded possession and Millwall instantly went on the attack. As we mentioned earlier, Solbrynn made a couple of really big saves, which could have been vital in the course of the game. And in fact, I think they were vital. bit of quality with that move that led to Latif's goal, but as you say, it was a game that was short on quality. I think there were quite a few occasions where it was a pass from Hackney getting cut out, a pass from Azaz getting cut out, Ben Doak being, he had a tough battle on yesterday against the Millwall fullback. So yeah, I think overall, but they weren't kind of doing that much either. After those couple of big saves in the first half, and conceding the possession in the first 10 minutes as often as we were, I don't recall Millwall doing a great deal either. I think there was maybe one header that was straight at Brynn in the second half, where I was kind of thinking, is that their first shot on target for this half or something? Does that count? Because I don't remember them threatening much at all, but then also I don't remember us threatening much at all. It was probably the most bored I've felt from a 1-0 win under Carrick. I came out of the game, I'm like, yeah, we've won, but it was a bit of a rubbish game. So yeah, but as I said at the start of the show, it is still a bit of a hallmark of a good team where we can not play anywhere near our best and still get a 1-0 win. I think we still need to take into account the fact that we've defended well to hold on to that. And we've ultimately got the goal that's won us the game, but as you say, it wasn't one for the neutrals.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. And on top of what you were just saying there, that first 10 minutes, it felt like we were stunned a little bit from the previous game where Leeds really aggressively pressed us. We made the mistakes. That first 10 minutes was like, oh God, we're trying to find our flow. It was a bit like we were on the ropes a little bit for oh my God, we're still stunned from that previous game. But then as we started to grow into it, we found our feet. I think once you score the goal, you want to see a little bit more. Better decision making, could have made that 2 or 3-0, I think, in the end, towards the end as well, where Millwall really pushing bodies forward. I think Tommy Conway's chance, Bergsorg's pass to at the end where he just absolutely drills it across the box, and we waste the chance. But it wasn't a game really where we created too much, and that's a bit abnormal for Middlesbrough. We will create only 3 or 4 or 5 big chances in the game. We're not really taking them away. But yesterday was a bit different where we had that one big chance, we took it, and then to have a clean sheet as well was a bit unlike us, but it was really nice to see it because we don't see much of it. I was intrigued yesterday actually with the changes that we made because Bergsorg was on that left-hand side, and I thought he was really good yesterday in terms of doing something a little bit different, being direct, but also what was interesting to me was he stayed wide yesterday. Bergsorg and Doak were trying to stretch the team, and you seen Borges just come into that inverted left. It was inverted into midfield, which I thought was really interesting, just an adaptation of how we've played previously. And with Borges coming in, it allowed us to have more bodies in midfield. It limited us getting caught on the counter, and the only mistakes that we had was from our own doing, really. And that's big for us because if we're able to cut those out, you're limiting the chances, which we've done quite well in over previous games. But I really like that underlapping, invert and run from Borges. I thought it just give us an extra dynamic, but also it allowed Bergsorg to go one-on-one with their fullback, which I thought was really strong from him yesterday. And the rotation was quite good too. But overall, the performance was, this probably wasn't a game where we deserved to win, but we've done it. And it's good that we've actually done it because there's been games this season where we've been excellent and we should have really won the games and we haven't and we've lost them. But this one was just a bit different where, we didn't deserve we didn't deserve much from the game. Probably a draw would have been a better result for both sides, but we've ended up winning the game and keeping a clean sheet, which I think is something you can build on as you go into these next run of games. But Tom van der Berg came in yesterday, which is a big bonus because he's been an excellent player for us since his move last year. And he came in from pretty much out of nowhere, to be honest. I feel like Arandi and Argyle, to be honest, because I know one expected van der Berg to be in the squad. But how do you think he did yesterday? Do you think it was good to see him back?
It was good to see him back, and I thought that he was nearly close to being back to his best yesterday. I did think he had a really good game. I think at the start of this season, I can maybe remember a couple of examples where he didn't necessarily have that good of a game, and it's just like, is he going through the kind of dreaded second season syndrome here? then he gets hit with injuries, and it's just kind of like, nothing's going right from the season. But he came back in yesterday and did extremely well. And big fan of Van den Berg. He had a cracking season last season, and hopefully this is the end of his injury problems, touch wood, and he can kind of stay fit and in the team, because that version of Van den Berg that played yesterday is exactly what we need. Plus, now we have 4 out of 5 of our centre-backs fit and available, which our Lenihan just get back to fitness, and we've got all 5 soon.
Yeah, I mean, will we ever see Darrell Lenihan again? I don't know at this point, but Lenihan anytime, Tom, the bet will come back. The prophecy will be fulfilled once again if that ever happens. But just on Rav van den Berg, I tell you what, his ceiling is so high, by the way. Like, he is going to the top. I just think for his age, he's so mature. He reads the game so well, and his defensive play is really strong. He doesn't make too many errors, but how much has he developed in such a short space of time, by the way? Because I remember Huddersfield away last season where he made a big individual error and everyone was like, oh, God, who's this guy we've just bought? From there to now, the growth in his game has been so big and underestimated from the fans. And it shows really Carrick's ability to improve a player, or the coaching staff and the team to really develop someone from a raw talent to a much better talent. And you can see a number of players have really developed their game under Carrick. And I think that's a really good sign of a good management team if you're able to develop all the players around you. Because I don't think there's really one player that we haven't regressed, really, to be honest. But just on Rav, I think we'll be struggling. I think we'll be struggling to hold on to him in the summer. I really, really do. A player like that with high potential, high ceiling, playing good football and playing games. I don't know. I don't know if we can keep him, to be honest. I think the only way we keep him is if we go up, which is a bit of a shame, really, to be honest. But let's move on. Let's go to podcast questions. Yes, podcast questions. Every week you get the chance to ask us a question on Twitter, Boro_breakdown. Email the BoroBreakdown@hotmail.com, or on Blue Sky as well. And Tom, first one of the day, it's from Phil, and he says, is it time to give Ben Doak a rest? Appreciating that we might not have many options, Don. But do you think that we should give Ben Doak a rest?
Ideally, no. Ideally, he would stay in the starting 11 because he is the best option that we have at right wing. Obviously, we've got Jones, who came on yesterday, and I thought Jones did well yesterday when he came on. He definitely looked a bit more like his old self, looked quite confident, and he took a little bit from Ben Doak, I thought, because he did have one run where he cut inside onto his left. He missed the goal completely with a left-footed shot, but I don't think we expect Isaiah Jones to hit the target with a left-footed shot that often. So, you can forgive him that, but I thought he did well yesterday. The Christmas games are coming. There's going to be quite a quick turnaround. I would be surprised if Jones isn't getting the chance to start in at least one of them. That being said, there's a lot of stuff that we as fans don't know that goes on behind the scenes in terms of monitoring these players' fitness and the risk of injuries and stuff like that. So if what's behind the scenes is showing that Ben Doak could use a rest, I'm sure we'll get a rest. If it's shown that he's perfectly all right to play, I'm pretty confident that he is the best option at right wing, and he will probably start. But it's we can kind of speculate on if it's the time to give him a rest all we want, but we're not privy to a lot of that information that goes on behind the scenes, so we ultimately wouldn't know.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, I thought we were quite leggy yesterday. I thought we were leggy, bit off it against Leeds as well. I thought there were some poor performances across the group, and it showed that maybe we could do a bit of rotation. That's probably the reason why you're seeing those 5 changes against Millwall. But to see Ben Doak be given a rest, I think the next game probably is the one where you would do it, I would say. And the Boxing Day and the 28th as well, those real quick turnarounds. You got to use your squad there. And I agree with you. I thought Isaiah Jones was good yesterday. He came on, he was quite bright. And I just wanted to see more of it. I was like, get him on the balls, keep feeding Jones and just try to build confidence. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he can come back and show some of the signs that he has done when he first broke through. And then when Chris Wilder adapted slightly. And then again, just a bit of that raw tenacity, take your man on, really pin your fullback and give him a hard time. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you've got two great players there who can really change game for you if you need it. So, yeah, I think if he's going to rest him, probably the next game, I would say, to do so. Next question is from Dennis, and he says, looking at the quality in Carrick's squad, should Boro have more points on the board? Bluntly, yes, we definitely should. There's so many games this season where we've said, we should have won that one. We've pissed this away. We've made a mistake there. I think if you looked at Boro's results game by game, you thought of what happened in those moments and how we've played, you could make an argument that Boro could be top right now and a couple of points clear. And that's not being like saying, "Oh, come on, Johnny, like that's a bit like stupid." If you look back and think of the errors, think of Portsmouth, Norwich is probably the two ones I'm thinking of. Derby and the mistake. There's games there where you're thinking, God, about 5 or 6 points where Watford as well, playing that one. There's 5, 6, 7 points where you're thinking that would make such a big difference and we would be in that automatic position and deservingly as well, because I think some of the performances this year have been deserving of top 2, but then that inconsistency in those problems and issues that we've had is the reason why we're 6th right now and not talking about top 2. But the next question is from Richie, and he says, is it best for Hamilton to go out on loan and try and get Louis Barry in on loan as well? Tom, what do you think? I mean, you haven't seen much of Louis Barry. I mean, he is tearing up in League One at the moment for Stockport County, double figures in goals, near enough averaging about a goal just under every 2 games. Aston Villa loanee. For our history with that, it's going to happen.
You know what? I trust the recruitment team if we are interested in him. We've made some January signings over the last couple of years, especially loans from Villa. And although I'd say the loans from Villa we've made previously were a little bit more well known, the recruitment team's obviously done their homework on them, and they've ended up being good signings. Micah Hamilton going out on loan, I'm not too sure. I think there's a case for it in that even before he came to us, he didn't have a lot of senior football under his belt. So I don't think he's going to get it this season with us, but also might his development be helped by the fact that he's at Boro and, he's got that kind of wealth of experience in the coaching team to work with. We, as you were saying earlier, we've developed a lot of players quite well. So could it be better for him to stay here this season? Potentially. But then also there is the case there that he could go out to like a League One club, start every game and ultimately benefit from that experience. It'll be interesting to see what we do with it. In terms of Louis Barry, I really don't know enough to make that call on whether or not that would be a good decision or not. But I would say if we're bringing more options on the left and it's generally more of an attacking option, then maybe it would be a good idea. And I think with our track record of Villa loanees, it's it could be for the best that we get him on loan.
Yeah, look, he's got a lot of quality, Louis Barry. You don't go to Barcelona if you're not good enough for that. He has broke through this season. It's really been a season where I think he's just developed his game massively. There's still a long way to go in his development. It's still a step up from League One to the Championship, and what a side to come and join who create plenty of chances. And it will take him time to develop if he's on that left-hand side role, to be honest, but Boro might have to develop that again. And on Micah Hamilton, I'm not making an excuse for him, but I don't think something's right. I just think something's off with, he looks a bit heavy on his feet at the minute. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking is there a foot problem? Is there an ankle problem? Is it just that he's just naturally a slower player? I don't know. I just feel like something's not right. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to throw like something out there out the blue, but I just think there's something off with him. I just don't think he's as quick as what you've seen where he had those limited games for City. He's a lot quicker on his feet and he was able to get past his man a lot quicker. But this time he just seems to be a bit more reserved, not willing to be as explosive. I don't know. I just think there's something not 100% right. But I think next year we've got him on a 4-year deal, high potential ceiling. There's enough time for him to develop now. You know, we've seen Chuba Akpom, for example, it took him 3 years out of his 4 years at the club, pretty much. It was 4 years. It felt like 4 years, 3 or 4 years, but it took him one season to really glow. It might just be a very similar thing there. But if he was to go out on loan, how do you manage his minutes? Where do you take him? And who would have him, to be honest? But I think there's quality there. I think something's right. But the final question of the day is from Jake, and he says, if Howson and Alan aren't in the 11, then who should be captain? Who should captain in the side? The lack of an outright leader has probably hindered us at times this season during the last 20 minutes. Who do you think should be captain out of Howson and Alan? Do you think Hackney should remain as captain, or do you think you would move that on?
I think in response to this question, I would probably say for anyone kind of questioning it, go back and listen to our Tommy Smith interview. We asked him about leadership qualities in that pod, and he said people show it in different ways. Hackney is a leader in his own right. Rob Vandenberg had the captain's armband last year. He's a leader in his own right. For me, I believe we've got leadership qualities throughout the squad. Hackney, I've got no problem with being captain. We've seen Matt Clark have the armband at some points this season. I don't mind Clark as captain. I mean, I'm not suggesting we do it because I'm sure I'd get pelters for it, but Neto Borges was captain at previous clubs. He's got leadership qualities. There are options in the team as to who could take over as captain. Let's say George Edmondson, easy. He's kind of always shouting at his fellow defenders and directing them and stuff like that. Not that that's the only quality that you look for in a leader, because it's definitely not. I know everyone kind of paints not Roy Howson, Johnny Howson to be like a prime Roy Keane for all the time that he was out with the team, saying, "Oh, he'll grab people by the shirt and scream at them and stuff." He's never done that. So like it's like the longer he's out, the more he morphs into Roy Keane. It was hilarious.
The more passionate he is. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, Johnny Passion. But George Edmondson, he's got a lot of experience. He's constantly talking to those around him. He could make a good captain. But like I say, Hackney has leadership qualities in his own right. He is respected by the rest of the squad. So there is a case there to keep the armband on him as well. I don't necessarily think we are missing leadership qualities in the team. I think it's just where the people who are leaders in the team show it in many different ways.
Yeah, and I've said this loads of times. Just because you shout doesn't mean you're a good leader. Do you know what I mean? You said it comes in different ways. And look at Michael Carrick, quiet. You don't really see him shouting too much. He makes his decisions, and probably one of the best midfielders. Has been the last 30, 40 years. So, who's won everything, and he's not someone who shouts all the time. He's managed a football club and he does things in different ways, and so should everyone else. But yeah, enough of that, the passionate leadership chatter. But let's move on to the praise and place. Yes, the praise and place, the only place. Let's give praise to a player, coach and staff member, or mine and Tom's brown hoodies today, because we are matchy. Tom, who's in your praise and place this week?
So I'm only having to pick them from the Millwall game because I don't really think anyone came out of the Leeds game with much credit. But I'm going to go with Sol Brynn for I think especially for the couple of big saves that he made, but also how comfortable he looked in goal for it, and coming out for corners and crosses and collecting the ball, catching it, and redistributing it. I think it's what we've needed. Probably for quite a few games this season, rather than it being punched. So Sol Brynn's deserving of it. Rab van den Berg coming back into the team after being out injured and putting in a performance like that. And I'm also going to say Delano Bergzorg. I thought he did really well yesterday, and that's when he went down at the end of the game because he'd sprinted up the pitch. You could see he was absolutely gassed before he started running. And he starts sprinting, and I was miles away from him. You could kind of see it in his face, like, oh, God, I have to sprint for this. He still beat the defender to the ball, gets into the box, and just like, I mean, he was on, the defender was in the way of my eye of him. So, I mean, he could have been slammed down for all I know. But for me, what that looked like, and I would say the majority of people listening who play football have been there, is when you've given absolutely everything in a game, you're absolutely exhausted, you've got nothing left to kind of like stay on your feet and hold the ball up while you pass it, and you just hit the deck, and that's what it looked like. But he ran himself into the ground yesterday, and I thought he did really well in that left wing position, constantly running at the full back, and I think he's one of these players that we are developing well. I think if we can just get that final ball out with him sometimes, I think he's going to be a real threat for us.
Yeah. Delano and Solbrun are in my present place as well. I think Bergzorg's just improved game after game after game after game. And it's nice. It's really nice to see. You know, he's progressive with the ball. He likes to drive Boro up the pitch. And he's been a threat in games. I really like how he drops his shoulder and rolls the defender, gets himself into good positions. That final ball could be better, but that's the reason we're in the Championship, right? You know, he's not a Premier League player. He just hasn't nailed that final ball yet. But at the moment, it's looking like a good signer from us from the summer. And if he can develop him even further, he's got really good players around him. So this whole attitude problem which he's seen with Huddersfield, I don't think you can really do it here because he was the main man at Huddersfield. Here he's not, and he has to really prove it. And I think it's quite a nice position to be in because he has something to really strive for and try to bring the best out of the players. So it always galvanizes someone when you've got someone ahead of you or you're in a position or an area where you know you can grow in. And I think he can do that. So for his appearances over the last few weeks, I think Bergzorg is deserving to be in my present place. And then Solbrun, like I mentioned earlier, that calm presence, collecting the ball, really just being like you were saying there, Tom. Really good performance from him. Good to get a clean sheet, and I think he stays in the 11 against Plymouth. But speaking of Plymouth, we do go to Home Park next Saturday against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, who are struggling at the moment. And I spoke to Aaron from Argyle Life to find out a little bit more about Plymouth this season.
Hello, Aaron here from Argyle Life's Green and White podcast. Johnny's asked me to answer some quick questions ahead of Saturday, which I am really, really, really looking forward to as Michael Carrick's team roll into Plymouth. Season so far has been up and down. Like, on paper, we can't really be too disappointed. We have one of the weakest squads in the league, one of the lowest budgets. To be second bottom, how we aren't bottom, I don't know, but to be second bottom, we can't really complain with. January is huge for us. We really need, well, Rooney's come out and said that we're going to try and get 2 or 3 in, but I think we need 6 or 7 genuinely to compete at this level. However, we are off the back of a 2-0 loss at Sheffield United, in which we played really, really well. Like, maybe one of the best games under Rooney so far. So whether that's Mike Phelan, who's just been appointed as his new assistant manager, whether it's the Phelan effect, don't know. But I hope so. God, I hope so, because we have been awful away from home this season. And at home, we've been not great, but we've been grinding out results. I think it's only 1 loss at home all season. Now I've said that out loud, that doesn't sound right, but I think it is. We are incredibly good at getting, last minute 90 plus 7, 90 plus 6, 90 plus 5 minute goals that either give us points or wins. We're very, very good at that, and we have been good at that for the last 3 seasons now since winning the League One title. So look out for that. Hopefully, if we can keep it tight and we can keep it, we can keep it within a goal with 10 minutes to go, that's when you should start to get nervous. But yeah, we've been hammered at certain points this season. 6-1 away at Norwich, 4-0 away at Bristol City, who famously don't score that many. 4-0 away at Sheffield Wednesday, 5-0 away at Cardiff. Yeah, fun time to be an Argyle fan. But like I said, home form is better. Key players to look out for is a tough one. All of our key players are out injured, basically, which coincides with the huge slump that we're on. But I don't even know who to pick out. I'm going to pick out Mustafa Bundu, who was playing in the 11th tier with Hereford FC, the reborn Hereford United, not too long ago. Went off for a stint in Denmark and then Spain and then Andorra. And we picked him up from, where did we get him from? Somewhere abroad, Europe. We don't know what to make of him. And that makes me think you won't know what to make of him because he plays on the wing, but he's not really a winger, bless him. He's also not a striker. He's not a cam. He is just, he's basically like, he's Jamie Vardy, but without the refinement and without the bad language. He's just like a kid that you've given a Red Bull to, and that should help. But apart from that, no real key players to pick out, to be honest, which is a bit of a shame. And then predictions. I'm on a bit of a pessimistic run. I'll go 2-1 Boro with Finazans to score. God, I miss that man.
Oh, Aaron. He's going through it at the minute, is Aaron. Yeah, at Argyle Life, we do text frequently about Finazaz, and he was the player who absolutely ran the show against us the last time out at home park when we drew 3-3. And interestingly, he played 60 games for Plymouth, did Finazaz, and he had 28 goal contributions that time. He's played 40 games for Boro already and got 23. So, those numbers are getting better and better. And the last time we won at home park, Tom, was in 2010, where Stephen McManus and Jonathan Franks got the goals and we won 2-0. So, been a long time since we won at Plymouth, but this could be a good time maybe to beat them. What are your predictions against Plymouth? I mean, they have made a change in the coaching staff. Mike Phelan's gone there now, so maybe a change in fortune for them. But what's your predictions going into next week's game?
Well, in honour of their new coach and staff appointment, I am feeling a 4-0 Boro win next season. Next week, sorry. Not next season. I don't think they'll be here next season, but next week there will be.
Oh, man. I'm just going to end the podcast after that, I think. I might end You know what? I'm not even going to give my prediction. Forget it. Let's just turn the mics off. Let's just park it up and go.
I got a feeling.
I got a mic feeling. I think we will win 3-0. I think there's a great opportunity for us to really have authority in the game. I don't think that they will. I think they'll sit back and be compact, but they are much better at home. They've got some really good results there. Away from home, they're absolutely dire. But, we've got to try and win these football matches if we want to get promoted this season. So, yeah, I'm gonna go 3-0. And sorry for that, Aaron, but I do think Finazaz will score one of them as well. So they really do love him at Plymouth. So he'll get a fantastic reception there. And they were saying that it's probably one of the worst decisions the club's ever made, not buying him on a permanent, but he went to Boro instead. But Tom, thank you so much for joining me as always. Listeners and viewers, thank you so much for watching and listening. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the Boro Breakdown on your podcast provider, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on there too. But for right now, this has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Match Day chatter in the pod. Up the Boro.